How y'all doing? Once again, it's Mr. and Mrs. T. Another edition of Live Talk Tuesday with Team T. Yeah, I've been getting it, man. I've been getting it. Today's subject is one that's called setting an expiration date. We all know when we go to stores, we buy products, and the manufacturer will put a date on it when it can be used by, or the date that it can be used by. I said that twice. Bread, fruit, beans. I think beans is like indefinite though. And Twinkies. Twinkies are indefinite. But meat, definitely meat. And sometimes I look at relationships and you see people, and I see people that have been engaged a long time. Like a really long time. And women tend to sometimes, the man pops that question, he gives her a ring, and the engagement goes on for like forever.
Or not even engaged, just dating forever without an engagement.
Without an engagement, exactly. Just, you get with someone, you're just plodding along. It's like a ship with no sail. You're just drifting in the breeze, and you know, and it's
seeing how it goes.
Yeah, seeing how it goes, and that's why it always goes back to dating with a purpose. Once again, this is Marriage Talk with Team T, and what we talk about is godly marriage. We talked about godly dating, and those two tie in, because if you're wanting to be married and you're looking for marriage, then your sole purpose when you dating and looking for people is, are they marriage material? Is it what you want? I know a lot of people like to say, well, God didn't, I gotta wait for God to tell me. Oh, yes, you can pray to God and ask God for guidance, but God left that decision up to us. You know, I think the only person he might have picked out was like Eve. When he pulled her out of Adam's gut, that's about it. But everybody else that marries, we marry with the choice.
Permissive will gives us the freedom to choose whoever we marry.
Choose whoever we want. Now they could be a dirty dog. They could be an angel. They could be whatever you want them to be. They can be whatever they are. But you still have a choice in picking that person to marry. And you pick that person with the choice, with a time frame in mind. Do you want to sit there and go on and on and on to see what they're like, or are you just going to see what they're like and then make a decision to say, bam, you know what? I'm gonna, you know, spend the rest of my life with this person. Because back in biblical times, you know, back in the oldie days, because, you know, we don't follow biblical principles anymore because they're old and outdated. But there were usually 3 steps to getting married, and the middle one we're going to get more in depth in that one, but actually go through all 3 of them. Kind of is the theme for today. First one in the Bible was the 2 families would get together and they would agree, okay, yeah, I want you to marry my daughter, and yeah, I want you to marry my son. And a lot of marriages back then were arranged. So first it was the families had agreed to the union, and a lot of times they made the announcement public. Second step was the couple was betrothed. Yeah, betrothed. You know, that's one of the words I can't say. Betrothed. Betrothed back in the biblical times was almost akin to being married. It was 2 people that were in a commitment to get married, almost like an engagement. But the difference back then in biblical times, you were engaged, and it was not engaged to, let's see how it happened and work out our differences. Back then, when you got betrothed, you were promised. It was an actual commitment prior to marriage. It was almost like marriage. The only thing you did not do was consummate the marriage. And there were things that, you know, that took place. It was a covenant between the man and woman, and it was, like I said, it was basically married but not married yet. Step 3, they were officially married, and they moved in with each other, and of course consummated the marriage. A lot of people seem to get stuck sometimes in step 1 or 2, but it's funny how we get stuck on step 1 and 2 and take years to do that, but when we finally hit step 3, nobody wants to take the time or the patience to do that. It's kind of funny. But you know, marriage is intended by God to be a lifelong commitment between man and woman. That's why it's such a serious choice on who you plan to spend the rest of your life with. And it's a choice that, do you want to be with someone where, of course, do you want to be with someone where it takes 2, 3, 4 years to figure out even if you want to get married to them? And then when you finally throw up your hand to say, okay, yeah, I guess this is what I want. Do you want to spend another 2, 3, 4, 5 years in an engagement period and seeing if you actually are going to get married? And a lot of times seems like time is just wasted in those phases, but we don't take that time once we get married to stay married.
And one of the interesting things that I read was something that says one of our bedrock governing principles in biblical dating and in how we treat our brothers and sisters in Christ generally is not to defraud our single brothers and sisters by implying a greater level of commitment between us and them than actually exists, which you can find in 1 Thessalonians 4 and 6. It also says that we can defraud our brother or sister in a dating context by showing or encouraging a level of intimacy, either emotionally or physically, that the Bible seems to reserve for marriage and marriage only. So if you're acting like you're married before you've made the commitment, you're defrauding your mate.
And one of the biggest things, of course, when it comes to dating and marriage and engagement, of course, is sexual intimacy. And we all know that the Bible says that's reserved for marriage.
And to flee from sexual immorality, as listed in 1 Corinthians 6 and 18.
Mm-hmm. To flee, run away from it. But that's why Paul said, it's better to marry than to burn with lust. And that's why you run, unless you're staying strict to those biblical principles of marriage and engagement, dating, engagement, and marriage, then you can endure that process. But that's why they also say don't have long engagements, because if you're adhering to those biblical principles, then it's a true test of flesh not to give in.
And the longer you date, the greater the temptation, the greater the level of temptation. The longer you date, spend time with each other, do things together outside of marriage, the greater the temptation becomes.
That's why it's really important sometimes to seek that mate. And if you're spending enough quality time with them and you're talking, you have to see, okay, do you see yourself with this person? Is God directing you towards this person? You've asked, are you getting an answer that God, is saying, quote unquote, this is the one? Because ultimately you still make the choice. And if you see yourself not pursuing a relationship with this person, then it's probably best to kind of let it go. Because do you want to spend time and not set that expiration date, quote unquote, with something that is ultimately not going to be what you want? Are you going to spend months dating, possibly years dating, and then you get engaged, and then you go those years engaged, and you're not pursuing that marriage? You're not pursuing marriage, then you drag that on, and sexual temptation, the body, lust, and and then it turns into just a hot mess.
Because if you're a godly couple and you're striving to have a godly relationship, and if you're doing things outside of God's will, you're taking a risk. So the longer you stretch out that dating and engagement phase, you're really taking a risk.
Don't get us wrong. Take that time during the engagement to, see the issues, because we've all got issues.
Or the courtship.
Yeah, the courtship. Take that courtship time to see what issues that the two of you may have. If the issues can be worked out and resolved, because, if they're a crackhead, then you may say, hey, this is not for me. If they got a gambling problem that comes up and arises, you may say, hey, that's not for me. The difference today is that with betrothal or engagements back in the biblical times, you were basically married, and any type of issue that resolved, a lot of times you had to break the marriage either through divorce. Break the engagement itself through divorce or death. You know, it was just like marriage, except you were still living with your parents. You know, the wife, the daughter, the woman that you want to marry was living with the parents. But once you got married, that's when a woman shall leave her mother and father and cleave to her husband, and which says it in Genesis 2:24 and Mark 10:7-9. You know, therefore, man leaves his father, mother, and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. And also another thing that you have to look at during that expiration date, if you're with someone that you know is not seeking God the way you're seeking God, are you're putting yourself in jeopardy. You're putting your soul in jeopardy, because we all know that Christians cannot team up with unbelievers, because a Christian teaming up with an unbeliever guarantees that the Christian will be pulled away from God, because bad company corrupts good character. I don't know why I'm having a hard time talking today. Like tongue to Tommy. But that's in 1 Corinthians 15:33. And that's very true. If we tend to hang with bad people, we'll end up doing the bad stuff. That's why the Bible tells us do not be unequally yoked. And that definitely stands for your marriage person or the person that you will be engaged with. Why waste your time in flirting and courting and playing that if this person ultimately you see right now is not going to seek God? If that is an issue, if that's like an issue for you, then chances are you probably don't want to get married to the person. You don't want to stay in that engagement, because once you cross that line, it's a whole different story. Because
we tend to think that what we see before marriage is somehow going to magically change after marriage. He's an unbeliever before marriage, but once we get married, he's going to start going to church every Sunday. He's going to start, praising God with me and all that stuff. And that's usually not the case.
And any Christian who is considering marriage needs to realize the depth of this commitment. Once you make that commitment, it's a big thing. It's a change in lifestyle. So it's a whole different ball game. And any issues that you have typically outside the marriage, you're going to bring them into the marriage. So that's why it's best to talk as much as possible. Use the engagement also to seek counseling. But don't drag it out so long that it's get to a point where, you're in limbo. That's why a lot of times you have to make the decision. Once you get the engagement ring, get it in.
Yeah, and don't use the engagement as a time to wait for things to change, or I'm waiting for some things to get better, or he has this issue, so I'm going to take this time in the engagement to wait for that to change. That's not a good idea.
And the worldly view of engagement, they'll tell you, well, test it out like a car. Move in with each other, see what it's like, and that's about as far away from as God wants us to be. God does not want us shacking up. God does not want us having premarital sex, because sex was designed for the marriage bed. So once you start having those relations outside of marriage, you're defiling your relationship. You're defiling your bed. Let's not say we can all be forgiven and turn it around and get it right. And even people that have done that, they still end up being married. But you don't want to take that time and be living in that sin for years and years and years, because you're hoping that this man finally gives you a date. Set the date yourself. Ask questions. Okay, we're engaged. When do you see us getting married? You want to see it 6 months? Heck, do it 2 weeks if you want to. The quicker the better. That way you can enjoy each other and not run the risk of sexual immorality. Talk about a date. Once you start seeing each other and you kind of see that everything is shooting off, and the dating is good and the courtship is good, and then the two of you actually can see yourselves spending the rest of your life together, and that question gets popped. Take that time to discuss the date. Find out what's best for you. Consult God, of course. Ask God when you would like, when is the best time. Because sometimes, there's things going on in school and stuff like that. But even with that being said, that union is still good. That marriage is still possible, because it's not like a marriage is going, you get married and all heck breaks loose. You know, you get married, it's a covenant with God. So God is going to protect you as long as you stay in accordance with his word. But that's just life. That's just life. But find out when that date is going to be. You know, the expiration date, quote unquote.
And ladies, don't allow yourself, and men, don't take don't take these women off the market just so they can be off the market, and you really don't have any intention of marrying them. You just don't want them to be with anyone else, so you propose indefinitely. Don't allow that to happen, and don't do that to anyone.
Exactly. And ladies, don't be afraid to ask this man, okay, we've been engaged, we've been asked, you know, when are we going to get married? I know a lot of people like to be ready. They want to get a house, they want to get a job, they want to get all this stuff in going into the marriage. But it's like, you know how the word says, come as you are. Come to church as you are. Not saying with your pants hanging off, but just come as you are. And in marriage, sometimes we got to do that too. Come as we are. We're truly seeking God. You're seeking God together. You're seeking to do what's right. You know, marriage is always right. Marriage is never wrong. God is not going to look at you like, why'd you get married for? I told you I don't like him. You know, marriage is honorable and it's divine. It's a divine institution. And God doesn't want us shacking up with people. God wants us to be living by his word, his will, and his way. So marriage is a great thing. You know, sometimes it may get bumpy, but that's when you work out those issues and talk with each other during that courtship period, during that engagement period, leading up to marriage. Because you don't want to get stuck. You don't want to get stuck on the other side. You want to be on the other side. Unless you're already living that life and you're, you know, being honorable to God and his word, and you can honestly, you know, steal yourself. But in the event that you can't, just, you know, go down to like McDonald's, you know, find like a priest or something and get married. The golden arches, golden rings. But ladies, don't let that man string you along. Don't let that man, as my wife say, put a ring on your finger just to get you off the market because someone else may be looking at you and they may be more apt to put that ring on your finger and marry you.
And don't become a placeholder for someone else to just hold the spot until someone else comes along. Because I like to make the analogy with the cars. You know, don't allow this man to lease you for a couple years, ride you around, put excess mileage on you, and then at the end of the lease deal, not even buy you. Turn you in for something else.
Turn you in. You went from a brand new Toyota Camry and he then went to like a Nissan Maxima after he didn't drove you in oil leaking, tires busted, and he left you with bad need of a mechanic and he then went to a new car. Ladies, don't let your desire also push you into something that you may not want. If you feel that it's not there and you don't want it and there are red flags, don't pursue it, don't go into it. You know,
don't accept the proposal.
Don't accept it. And you don't have to accept the proposal if you really feel in your heart you don't want it. But if you feel it and it's there and God is directing you to that path and you feel something, this person is a believer, you're a believer, both are praying together, seeking God together, you seek wise counsel, you've talked to people, you've been talking about issues, talking about money, school, children, and you really can see yourself with this person, don't wait. Why wait? You know, a lot of people just want this big wedding, big fancy affair. Your wedding is just one day. And
your marriage is a lifetime.
And for a lot of people, it's $30,000 in the hole. Unless you're blessed to get, you can do that. Fine, you go right ahead. But the wedding is one day. Your marriage, as my wife said, is for the rest of your life. You're better off having just a little ceremony and using that money, getting together, and being happy working on your marriage for the rest of your life. That's the day. The day you go broke, going crazy. And think people always start off the marriage crazy because they get stressed out, dead in a hole. They don't know. I'll just do the marriage.
Spend your time focusing on the marriage and not so much the wedding. Yes, women, we want to have a nice wedding, big fancy wedding, some of us. But put more time focusing on your marriage and not the wedding. Because the wedding is one day, a couple hours. It's really for everybody else's enjoyment.
That's about it. They'll eat up your food. If you get alcohol, they're going to drink up all your stuff. You left with a big bill. Ain't nobody really going to help you pay for it unless you got nice parents. Don't get me wrong. You might have some good parents that would help you pay for it. But don't get so caught up in wanting that big wedding and that extravagant affair that you delay.
You forget about getting married.
You forget, delay getting married. That you don't set that date. Because that date, you don't want to have that date so way out and things ain't going right. Because sometimes what tends to happen too, people set that date and don't have a date. And
they kind of just...
They go along drifting along, and there are two people that really love each other, want to be with each other, but over the course of time, as they start seeing each other more, then all of a sudden, like, I don't know if I want to be with this person, simply because you've got so much time until you get married, and now you're fighting, you're crabby, and you're just crazy instead of just jumping in. I used to be that type of person. I used to be the same way. Get married, well, wait a few years, see what it's gonna be like, and I don't know. I've gotten to the point now, I'm like, if two people love each other and they can see each other being with each other, go ahead. Do it. Ain't no sense in waiting.
And sometimes people don't think about that. Sometimes maybe God is waiting on you. I mean, maybe, sometimes people tend to stay engaged because they want, we're saving up, we're trying to get a house before we get married and a car. Sometimes maybe God is not going to bless you with those things until you do right by him. Until you do the right thing. Get married and then watch those things come.
Because he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains that favor from the Lord. And that favor can go a long way. Because God is going to honor your marriage. He sees what's in your heart. And that's nothing. God knows our heart. If he knows you are truly seeking marriage, God's going to bless you. He's going to bless you. But if you talk marriage and don't put no date on nothing, you really just goofing off. Come on. Ladies, don't let them. How many men I got on here that was doing that? Let me stop. But ladies, don't let that man drag you along. Don't let that man put that ring on your finger without giving you a date. Don't heckle him all day long. But if give it enough time for it to pass, and then if you haven't heard anything, just sit down and discuss it. Discuss that expiration date, because you don't want to be sitting there waiting forever and ever, and year go by, and 2 and 3, 4. I know some people else engaged.
I think that if in my personal opinion, if a person asks for your hand in marriage, they should have a date in mind. I mean, they should have a solid plan. Not, I'm going to ask you to marry me and then we just going to wing it from there. Like, we'll see what happens. If you ask someone to marry you, you should have a plan in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have an exact date, but you should have a time frame as to when this is going to take place.
Because if you love this person, why be afraid? Perfect love casts out fear. We always say that. We say these words. We say love covers a multitude of faults. We say love is the greatest thing of all time. But when we say we love a person, and when it comes to making that commitment, all of a sudden we're hesitant. We stop. If you truly love this woman, men, if you truly love this woman, ladies, if you truly love this man, getting married won't be an issue. You jump at the chance to get married. You want to get married as quickly as possible. If you can get everything done in 6 months, you'll cram it in 6 months to get it done, because you want to be with this person. You want to honor God's word. You want to have a covenant with God, with your husband, because your marriage is your reflection of the relationship you'll have with God. And you want that relationship with God as people that are seeking God and want to know God's word. you want that marriage. And that's the thing. A God-fearing people, a believer will want that, and that's why it's so important to get with someone. If you believe in God and you want to worship God, that you find somebody that wants that same thing. Now, depending on the level, then you might be able to jump through the house and swing on and pray and glide through the house, and they may not be able to do that, but they still love the Lord. They're seeking God and they want God in their lives. That's the first and foremost. Seek God for yourself, and that person that you want to be with, make sure that they're seeking God as well, because it's just pure heck when you get to a covenant with someone and they're not a believer.
And then you have to ask yourself, if you're in a situation with one of these long engagements, what exactly are you waiting for? Like, what are you waiting for? What's the holdup? If it's something that is so serious that you can't get married, then maybe that's something you should take a look at. Maybe you need to take marriage off the table. If something is going on so serious that you cannot get married.
Because one thing I really do believe is that when we have those proverbial red flags, we know those red flags. We're really quick to pick up on what we don't want. I mean, we really are, as opposed to what we do want. Sometimes we see things and they're good, but we believe they're too good to be true, so we don't pursue it. But we know when something is not good for us. You ever notice that? We know when something's not good. So if you're sitting there and there's no date, I know I don't usually like telling people what to do in their relationships, because we got told that we all know and want to be in people's marriages. That's a different story. But anyway, if if you are with someone and there's no date, and all they want to do is just lay up with you, you can step away. You can say, this is what I don't want. Men, you can do it too. You can walk away. If you're seeking marriage, seek marriage. If it's not there, leave it alone. Because by you walking away, maybe that person might actually say, oh, you know what? I got to get my stuff together. And that's what it does take some time. Don't let them be a yo-yo, though, where they just pull you back in doing the same crap. No, don't be a yo-yo. Because
are you seeking marriage or are you seeking engagement?
Exactly.
There's a difference. Are you seeking to be married, or are you just wanting to be engaged?
Yeah,
now, if you just want to be engaged...
Because you know how women are, they get that ring, but is he going to put the other ring on your finger too? That big rock on your finger, 3 carats is fine. But are you going to get that band too within a good enough time frame? And I really think that, and now this is my personal opinion as well, you'll know in 6 months. A lot of people say, oh, it takes 2 to 3 years. No, it don't. No, it don't. Because think of the people that you've been with. It probably didn't take that long for you to be with the ones that you didn't want to be with. And there was some possibility with some others, and things just didn't work out. But I really do feel within 6 months to a year, you'll know if you want to be with this person or not. It didn't take me that long to know that I wanted to be with her. And I'm just saying me. I really didn't. I was the one that actually brought up marriage, because I wasn't trying to go down the road and be dating for like 6 months. I'm not a dater for a long time. I'm not. Never have been. Never have been. And within 2 years, you get engaged. It shouldn't take no more than 2 years to tie the knot.
From beginning to end. From
beginning to end. We'll throw a little time frame after the official engagement itself, because I know sometimes people date and they want to get to know each other, so that's fine too. But once again, you got to stay celibate, you got to stay holy, you got to stay clean, because once you throw other issues into it, it kind of clouds what you want to do. But once that engagement drop, if it's take you more than 2 years to get married because you're just trying to plan all this stuff, sometimes you got to just leave that stuff alone and get right with God. We're so wanting to do what the world wants to see us do, and your friends want to come. Oh, girl, you can't do it then because I'm gonna be in China or something, and I won't be able to make it. You're talking about your soul and your happiness, and I think a lot of people lose sight.
Your salvation
and your salvation. People lose sight of that because they're trying to get mama and dad, and Lord help you if your parents are split up. Then one be like in DC, the other one's like in the islands or something. You got to get them together. And I mean, it's nice to have your family there, but ultimately, your marriage is about you and the person that you're going to marry. It's not about you. It's not about your family. It's not about your friends, because they can be pissed off they can be PO'd if they didn't come to the wedding, but it ain't about them. It's about you and your spouse. And if you got to do a quickie ceremony just so your soul and your salvation is right, do it. Maybe a year or two down the line, you can have a big ceremony, but it's about your soul. It's about your happiness. It's about your future. It's not about nobody else. Because as I said earlier, a man leaves his mother and father and cleaves to his wife. Leave and cleave. Leave and cleave.
Because, if you're not unequally yoked, you can pretty much kind of, work through other issues. I mean, you're never going to be issue free. I don't care how long you take to try to get to know somebody. You can date for 10 years and you're still going to have issues.
You're going to have issues. You're going to have issues, yeah. And that line of, we're just trying to work some stuff out. Like my wife said, maybe once you get married, that stuff will work out. Because the Bible does not say that. We did a thing on wives have power. The Bible never says before you get married, you don't have the power to change your boyfriend by your deeds.
The Bible doesn't even acknowledge a dating relationship. It does
not acknowledge nothing about dating. Everything that a wife is supposed to do is done as a wife. Everything that a man is supposed to do when it comes to a relationship is done as a husband. So that's your power. It's not trying. You can pray for people, okay, and ask God to change their heart. But the Bible sits there and tells us in Peter that wives, your husbands will be changed by your deeds and your actions, by what you do, because you're the wife. You are the wife.
And that's one thing that while we were dating, that we never prayed together. And that's one thing that, I feel strongly about. I said my prayer, he said his prayer, and if they lined up with God's will, then it would happen. But this praying with your boyfriend, pray with your husband.
Pray with your husband. Don't get me wrong.
Pray together for your boyfriend.
You can fellowship together. Mm-hmm. You can fellowship together. But the Bible talks about having that power in a relationship only through marriage. Only through marriage. It even tells you, as a believer, if you marry an unbeliever, because we know you're supposed to be equally yoked, you want two people that believe in God. But when the Bible says that even if you do marry an unbeliever, do not leave. Do not leave, because as a believer, you will sanctify that woman. As a husband, you will sanctify that spouse, that wife. And your children will be born clean. So even when it comes to marriage, people don't understand the power that they have in marriage. And I'm about to get started again. People don't understand that power that they have in marriage. That's why it's so important not to have these long engagements, because you want to be able to use that power. You want to be able to tap it.
You don't have any over your boyfriend or girlfriend.
You don't have none of that. People are so intent on trying to change them before they get married, not knowing that, you want it as right as rain before you go into marriage. But some issues, as my wife said, may not change until you get into the marriage and exercise that power that you have. And that's the next topic. We've done the wives, and we're gonna do the husbands, because a lot of men are falling off. And that's why this was kind of like a springboard to that with the expiration date. With ladies, don't let that man sit there and drag you on. Don't let him drag you on in a relationship, and don't let him drag you through an engagement. Men, y'all need to step to the plate and stop dragging these women through and all that stuff, knowing that she's not going to be with them. Be honest. Be honest. But that's going to be the next topic, because I got a whole lot to say about the men. Because some of these men, you the head of the household. If you ain't going to church, at least read the Bible. If you're not going to church, get in the Word. Watch it on TV. You don't have no excuse for not seeing no type of church whatsoever. Joel Osteen on, I think, like every doggone week. Your local church might have
Joel Osteen.
But he just wants you to be prosperous. But that's the next topic, is the men. Because I really think that our homes are suffering. Our communities are suffering because our men are not where they need to be. We want to talk about the NFL. We want to talk about police brutality, and all those things are there. But our men are not in the authority that they should have, because the men are the head of the household. It ain't got to be the woman that you had kids with, but when you're shacking up and living with someone and you're not the husband, you are not the head. You're not the head, because the Bible clearly says, husbands, you are the head, just as Christ is the head of you. It don't say, if I'm not mistaken, don't say you in the house, men, you the head, as Christ is your head. He addresses that to husbands. And we don't have no power in our households because we're just shacking up, boyfriend, girlfriend, waiting on an expiration date. You got an indefinite date. You got like a radioactive engagement, because radioactive stuff just, it goes on. It's got a long life. It just stays going on forever. And we're suffering in our homes.
And put an expiration date on dating without an engagement. I mean, don't put an expiration date on the engagement.
Yeah.
And put an expiration date on dating without an engagement, because I think a lot of what's happening, especially with young ladies, there's no more courting. They meet, they jump into bed, they move in together, start having kids, and start playing house.
Mm-hmm.
And then marriage just gets lost in the shuffle, goes out the window, because now we're playing house. It's like we're married, we living like we're married. We get along, we're raising kids like we're married, but you're not married, and that's dangerous.
God wants us to be married. Don't get us wrong. If you're not ready for marriage, we don't want you to go.
By no means.
Don't go running into marriage if you're truly not ready. That's why Paul said, if you want to be single, be single. But if you're going to be single, live your life holy and acceptable unto Christ. You got to live a life for the Lord. If you're single, because a lot of people take this as, oh, good, I'm not going to never get married. When you don't get married, you have to live a life that is acceptable to Christ. You're living for God. Christ is going to be your man. You know what I'm saying? Christ is going to be your partner. All right? And it's not I'm never going to get married. Like you said, I don't want to get married. I'm just going to have relationships with people and jump in and out the bed with people. No, that's not what that means. That means don't get married until you're ready. But when you're in that getting ready phase, you are getting ready, and you're walking with God. You're praising God. You're worshiping God. You're thanking God. You're giving Him all the glory, honor, and the praise. And that stuff will come, because last week we spoke on, seek ye first His righteousness, seek His kingdom, and all those things will be given unto you. Stay focused, stay faithful to God.
And ladies, stop giving these boyfriends husband benefits. Stop doing that. If you're not worthy of being a wife, stop being a ride or die. Stop going above and beyond your girlfriend duties. Stop putting up with all his mess because you're trying to prove yourself worthy of his appreciation and to be become his wife.
Yeah, you don't have to, and that's the whole purpose of courtship, that period. Because if you see something that you don't like, you still have the opportunity and the time to walk away. You're not stuck in something. I shouldn't say you're not stuck. You're not in a commitment.
Yeah, because when you get married.
Because when you're married, that's it. But in that marriage, that's where that power comes in. You go into it, you expect to be beat up a few times though. When you don't get married, when you're not in the bed with this person, you have the ability and the power to walk. Because that sex thing, that's going to be another topic too. Because that sex thing, Jack Warner, that's the dude from General Hospital. His name was Jack Warner.
Oh, God.
For real. It was Jack Warner.
JJ, he crazy.
Damn, there you go. I like that. But, what was I saying?
The sex thing.
The sex thing. People don't understand how powerful sex. That's why God only reserves sex for marriage. You consummated the marriage with that act because you were soul tied. And when you were living God's way, following God's principles, following His word, and you got married, and the two people were doing that, and they were following God, seeking God, and they got married, and they consummated that soul, because that's what that soul tie was, because they were so filled with the Holy Spirit that once the two of them consummated that marriage and came together, that's a powerful thing. But what's going on these days is that the person that you're with is a heathen, straight up heathen, full of demons. Then you jump into bed with them. Now you're bound to a heathen. You're all jacked up. And people, and it's not just sex is just not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual thing. That's why it's so important to not jump in bed with no one, and especially not with everyone you see, because you know how they say everybody you sleep with, every person you sleep with, you're sleeping with who they slept with. It's true physically and it's true spiritually. Don't sit there. Don't let someone put you in bed if you do not want to be in bed. Put a date on it. Put a date on it. When you're dating and that's all they driving for, if that's all you see, like the flesh can be a mole, a mole. You know, that's why we don't fight against the devil. We fight against our own flesh. And that flesh thing, once it kind of starts going in and guys coming in, because us guys are really good for doing it. You know, women got the body, but we are really good for sweet talking women. You know, women kind of just drop the physical on, bam. But guys are really good at sweet talking and, hey, how you doing? You know, I really want to be with you. Da, 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 da. If you want marriage and you're holding yourself for marriage, stay true to that desire. There's nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with being with someone saying, hey, this is not what I want. In the dating phase. In the dating phase, like my wife said, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this ain't going where I want to go. You just trying to jump into bed with me. You just trying to do all, don't stop being nice to my kids. Because, you know, everybody got kids now. You know, it's because things do happen. But if you don't have kids, you know, stop trying to going to try to be sweet and stuff, and just keep throwing the Bible at them. Keep throwing the Bible at them. Seriously. You want to know what a person is about? Keep throwing scripture, Bible, church at them and see what they do. Because eventually, a lot of times, that thing will pop up like, you know what? You talk too much. Fake for you know, you talk about the Bible just way too much. I'm out. You know, God might reveal it to you right there, because that person might straight be like, you know what? I really don't believe in God. Be out. Don't sit there and be like, well, but he's so nice. He got a nice job.
He will, you know, eventually I can get him to believe.
Yeah, he'll believe in God because he nice, and I mean, I'm sure.
Going to church, and I'm gonna get him to go to church with me, and
you get in the bed when he like Tank, because you hear all that stuff about Tank that's going on. That's like whole crazy stuff with Tank. You get one of them Tank looking dudes, and he just nasty, just nasty. So, ladies, because this was kind of for the ladies and for the men too. If you're seeking marriage, you want that relationship with God first. But if you're seeking marriage, if you're dating with a purpose, do not be afraid to put that expiration date on it. Don't be afraid to walk away if it's not what you want. And if you're with someone and it's working out, people, don't be afraid to get married. I know the world's gonna be like, oh, marriage is nothing. You know, I was married, and you know, you too young.
You need to sow your oats before you get married, and you know they'll tell you, especially we like to tell our young men, you know, you need to sow your oats before you get married. You need to have as many women as you can before you get married. That's not true. That's
not the way. That's not the Bible.
That's not what I tell my son.
Yeah, that's not the Bible
21,
way.
and I say, you know.
God tells us, the word tells us to seek him first. Live righteously. Live holy. To live holy. Nobody, is anybody perfect? No, but Christ tells us not to sin no more. It doesn't mean that you're going to go sinless, but it tells us not to go back into to a sinful lifestyle, because we're all born sinners. So there comes a point where we've had that lifestyle, but when we get saved, we're new creatures. And it tells us, and the word tells us not to go back into that lifestyle. So you could have been a person that's been doing that. Like I said, a lot of us got kids. People got kids out of wedlock. Sure, we've all been down that road. We've lived the lifestyle. But once you come into that knowledge of Christ and you got saved, you're starting your life over. You're a new creature. The slate's been clean. Stay true to God's word. You know, stay wanting marriage. Stay wanting marriage, and don't try to play yourself. If you want marriage, it'll come. Because, you know, a lot of people are like, no, I don't want marriage. but be burning on the inside like, I really do want a husband. Okay, be honest.
Or don't get with these guys and because he doesn't want marriage, you kind of adopt the idea of, I don't want marriage either. I don't want marriage either because he's not moving towards marriage. Let it go.
Let it go. And that's that bad company corrupts good character, because you are a young lady or a young man that desired marriage. But you got with somebody over, so we don't need to get married. We don't really need to get married right now. I don't even think we need to get married at all. Let's just live together because it'll be like we're married. Because that's the line people use. It's like we're married. We do all the stuff like we're married. See, that's your problem. Like my wife said earlier, you're doing all that stuff like you're married. You're not married. You're boyfriend and girlfriend. Two people seeking God, seeking Christ, and you're in a courtship. You can find all that stuff out about people without giving everything to them. It's easy.
And just think, ladies, how many times have you done that? Have you got with the guy, gave him your all, just your boyfriend, gave him your all, doing everything for him, and it didn't work out. Then you move on to the next guy and you give your all
again. It's like you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're doing it your way. That's why it's not working. And people will sit there and say, well, that's I want to do it the way because that's the way I've been doing it. When we do it God's way, God will not steer us wrong. He will honor his word. God is bound by his word. People don't understand that. He is a man that cannot lie. When he tells you he's going to bless you, if you do it this way, he's going to bless you. So don't let that man try to get you in the bed, and because that's just the devil just trying to corrupt you. He just wants to corrupt you. He wants to have you jacked up and confused and doubting and all that stuff. Because he's going to send somebody that's going to look heck good. You're going to be like, oh my, whoa. I was watching the video that my wife posted on the group with the guy that was the pastor that was going out with the sinful woman. He said she was good looking, but she was a sinner. Y'all gotta listen to that because that's real talk what he was saying right there, because he was in the early days of his ministry and she was good looking, fine, and he was going to church, and all of a sudden he stopped going to church because he wanted to be with her. They was kissing and all that stuff and getting real close. And he said she stopped calling him. So he called her back after like 2 days. He's like, hey, you all right? Is your phone broke? Were you sick? All kind of stuff. So she was like, oh, I'm good. But this is what she told him. She said, I'm not good for you. And he's like, what's going on? She was like, I love you, but ever since you've been with me, you have stopped going to church. God will do it. God will do it. The woman that he said he loved, but he was sent, she told him, I'm not good for you because if I ask you to sleep with you, you'll do it. And he was like, man, I was waiting for the ask, because he was like, he said he would have done it. He was ready to do it. So that's why, once again, bad company corrupts.
Intervention.
That's that divine intervention. Sometimes it will come in. Sometimes it will pop in. God be like, no. Because he put it on her heart where she was like, she couldn't do it. Now, she's a sinner. So don't ever run away from when God is trying to tell you something, because God can use anybody. He can use that sinner and he can use that saint. But it was just funny how he was just ready to do all that and then came up and was like, she was like, I can't do it. And it saved him from doing something. So ladies, gentlemen, it's okay. It's okay to give somebody a date. You see what they're about. If they truly love you and they want to be with you, they'll hear what you're saying. They may get upset at first because they may feel that they're being rushed, but then they will understand if you got a good thing and if he wants that favor and he realizes that you're a woman of God and he's a man of God, they'll either say yes or they'll say no.
Because who doesn't want favor?
Yeah, who doesn't want favor? Because that's why I was like, I'm not going to sit here, all still, hey, how you doing? Hey, why don't you just move up here? And I felt bad as a man. If I had this woman sitting up in here, and what kind of authority will I have in my household if I sit there and say, in this household, if I sit there and say, well, you can't do this, you can't do this. I'm not her husband. And people don't understand. That's why a lot of times them houses be warring. Because where's your authority? You know, a lot of people say, oh, but we got stuff that's just like we good, and it's like we married. Okay, if it's good like that, just think of how much better it would be if you were living in accordance with God's word. Because you're just on grace. Where's the blessing once you come into that covenant together as husband and wife? See, that's where a lot of times we get tricked. Because you get the big house together, you got the car, the job, you got the kids. Oh, we got all of this stuff, and we ain't even married.
That's great.
That's great. But do you ever think that the house that you got, maybe you got one bigger than that? Maybe you got a car bigger than that. Or two cars. God is going to honor his word. If he says that a man that finds a wife finds a good thing gets favor from the Lord, what favor are you getting if you're shacking up with your girlfriend? Man, seriously. Let's just think about that. Because a lot of times they just think that that's the bees all, the ends all, and that's it. We ain't got to do nothing, you know. But if you're seeking marriage, you're seeking God, then you're seeking marriage, put a date on it. You know, if you like, you should have put a ring on it. They'd be like, you should have liked you should have a date on it. Forget the ring, because you can get married without an engagement ring, for real. You can be like, hey, babe, let's get married. That's kind of like what our crazy behinds did. I popped up with a ring I think I kid you not, like 2 weeks, you know. But we were already planning. We were going to get married. It wasn't like a thing of let's wait and see. We're just saying what we did. And not to say that works for all. But at the same time, if you love this person, where's the hesitation? Are you looking for better? Because you'll find better. You okay? You're going to find better.
Always be better.
There's always going to be better.
You have to make the conscious decision and choice that, okay, this is what I want. This is who I'm going to marry. Because if you wait for better, you're gonna find better.
You're gonna find better. And that's what people do. They go through that revolving door because they see somebody that they got now. Then they look at the nice next one. Oh, you know what? She says this to me. She says these things to me. Then you leave that one, and you leave the one that you get with that one. Then another one come around, and she better than the one you got. So you go through this long train of revolving men, revolving women, and it's a never-ending thing because you have not, number one, got right with yourself. See, a lot of the issues that we have, number one is no man in the household. Number two is our self-issue. It's our self-image. And it's our self-image of how we see ourselves in Christ. Hold on. We got a guest coming in. We want to see someone. Vivian. This is what we like. We like participation. You know, getting other word, other people, and we're inviting.
Yes, we welcome the word.
Inviting. But anyway, as I was saying, that we get into these things with people and we get trapped and we get stuck and we feel that we just have to keep plodding on. And it's okay to walk away. It's okay to put that date. It's okay to ask. It's okay to find out. Because,
oh Lord, what
hi.
I'm doing?
Yeah, she had to cut. I think she was looked like a Lionel Richie Lionel Richie video where she was dancing on the ceiling. She was like this, so maybe she was like. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to say no. Okay, and I think sometimes we get so. I know a lot of times you get pressure because when you're gonna get married, but if you're not ready, you're not ready. Live and seek God by yourself. Be secure with yourself. That's what I was saying. That our issues with, no male in the house, no men in the household, no father figures, no husbands, no male households. I mean, no males in the house, head of household. And the second thing is the image, how we see ourselves. And we don't see ourselves as God sees us. We've gone through so much that a lot of times we're just so distraught and discouraged and broken. And when we're broken, sometimes that's when you'll get taken advantage of when you're at your lowest. That's why it's really important to seek God first. There's a reason why you seek God first, because God, number one, will heal your brokenness, and then second, He'll heal your brokenness. He'll restore you, and He'll clean you, and get you presentable when that person comes. Because sometimes when we're broken, that's when we get broken people. We attract broken people. We attract what we are. We see. Now I said our perception is our reception. How we perceive things is how we receive things. Okay? If you see yourself as a broken individual, no good, chances are the person that you get in your life is going to be broken, no good either. That's why a lot of women just keep going through the same type of relationship. A lot of men, and men and women is different. You know, a lot of times we just concentrate on the women because they seem to get so broke. No, not to say that men aren't broken, but men and relationships are two entirely different things. Women are for emotional bond, emotional attachment. Men, unfortunately, we're physical, you know, but that's just as bad. It's probably worse because we sucking all them demons physically, and the women are just getting sucked on emotionally, you know. But it's okay to wait. It's okay to wait. It's okay to put a date on it. It's okay to say I don't want to sit here date you for like 15 years. And it's okay to say if you're dating to get engaged, you don't want to be engaged 15 years. It's fine. Pray to God. God will guide you. And he will a lot of times we get dropped in our spirit of things that we shouldn't do. And that's the truth. But we're going almost an hour. I guess this is an hour show now. When the first time we did this show, it was like 25 minutes. And I said a show. Like it's on TV. We even got music in the background. I don't know if y'all can hear it. You know what I'm saying? But it's it's okay. It's okay to put an expiration date. It's all right. It's all right to seek marriage. And if you ain't got it,
and guys, be ready when you ask. Mm-hmm. Be ready when you ask. When you ask for her hand in marriage, be ready to commit. Because that's what it means that you're ready to commit. You should be ready to get married that same day if she says. For real,
you should be for real. When she say it, that's thinking back in the biblical times. You know. Yeah, their marriages were arranged and all that stuff, but they got married. They made a declaration for the families in public. They got betrothed, which was basically saying, okay, this is it. You two are going to be together. You're going to have nobody else. That's what that meant, engagements back then. It wasn't like you can break them off now, you know, like you can break it off. You couldn't do that then. And they would promise to each other. They were committed to each other. Then shortly thereafter, they had the ceremony. It wasn't no long, drawn out process of let me see how it is and all that stuff. I just seen a cry face. Who had a cry face? Was that an accident? It's okay, don't cry. It's okay. God got us. God got us. And know that God, regardless of what's going on, God got you. You know what I'm saying? He got you. You know, just trust him. You know, put away all that stuff that you don't need no more. Let it go. All the hurt, the pain, and the brokenheartedness. God can fix all of that. God, we know. You know, we've been there. A lot of the stuff that we're saying, we're not saying it just because we read it in a book. We're saying it because we've actually lived that. We've lived it. And God is a healer. God truly is a healer. A lot of times we look at God to heal us physically, which he can. But more importantly, you need to have your spirit healed. Your mind healed, your brain, everything else healed, your insides healed, because that's what's important. It's in here. You know, there's a lot of people can't walk, can't talk, can't do none of stuff, but in here they're still good, because ultimately this is just our dressing up room. We're trying to get to heaven. We want to live good down here. Don't get me wrong, but our ultimate goal is to make sure we are dancing and praising with our Savior. You know, that's the goal, and it's okay. God got it. God got it.
So, when you put a ring on it, also put a date on it.
That's right. Set an expiration date. Y'all can take that picture if y'all want to. And, you know, mess with it how you want. You know, a lot of those pictures I've been doing myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to get to this art thing, you know what I'm saying? And advertising and stuff. So, I'm trying to learn how to do things. And got a logo in mind. Little 3D logo type thing, the MTT, something. So we'll be back next week. Next week's topic: men. The wives have power. Now we're gonna have to do husbands. You the head, not head as a dictator, but just as Christ. We're gonna get into all that because you guys just make me mad. I'm sorry. And do not sin in your anger. I just kick a table over like Jesus said, but that's it. But we We will. We gonna keep letting them use us to fill us up. Fill us up. Fill me up. Fill us up. But once again, we love y'all. Thank y'all for giving us this opportunity to talk to you, and feel free to chime in if you got something to say. If you just had a little technical difficulty with somebody, but if y'all want to jump in and say something, jump in.
If you want to come on in and talk to
face to face, yeah, do it. Come on, and don't be scared. Don't be scared. Just get on up in there. Once again, we love y'all. We'll talk to y'all next weekend. Bye.